I'd like to be a shepherd.
You like to be a shepherd?
Yeah, not like what's a shepherd?
Welcome back to Show Me Yours with Jackie and Jonny, everybody.
I'm Jackie Agnew.
I'm Jonny DeVito. And this week, we have another fantastic episode. We're back in the lab here. Jackie, this is your week.
Yes.
Tell me what we got going on.
Well, we got a Cheap Trick live at Budokan.
I got a couple cheap tricks for you, baby.
Nice.
Sorry, that's dumb. It's my fault. Coming in hot off the top.
Yeah, it's a fun album. Released and recorded in 1978.
Ooh.
Yeah, in Tokyo.
I thought there were some times we were speaking to the crowd there, and I was like, they're really enunciating. They're really slowing down right now.
Well, it's actually, we'll get into that. But yeah, so that's the album we're doing today. Also, apologies, this episode is a little tardy.
Yeah, it's a little tardy, and it's my fault. I'll go ahead and say it. I'm the reason. Normally, we blame Peter Grant for these kind of slip-ups, but I'm not going to lie to you, this one is all on me. I got to take the hit. But
Peter was probably the root cause of it.
Oh, no, he was definitely involved.
Yeah.
I mean, easily, yeah, right? I mean, like, you can't just do a crime without somebody driving a getaway car, you know what I mean, right? He was definitely implicated in the crime, but, you know, I think we can move forward from this now. I apologize to all of our loyal listeners. And you know, we'll be back on Monday, regular scheduled program.
Regular schedule.
Absolutely. But now you get this one on a Wednesday. So
yeah,
I mean,
it's a good day for you.
Who doesn't love us on a Wednesday?
Yeah.
Who's better than us?
No, definitely not on a Wednesday.
I mean, on a Wednesday?
Certainly on Wednesday.
You'd be hard pressed to find anybody half as good.
Exactly.
So you're welcome.
So there you go. Yeah, you're welcome. But before we get into this album, we have an interesting story that caught my eye.
What do you got for us, Jax? Wait, should we pay the bills first? Like, subscribe, do all the stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like and subscribe, comment, 5-star review, TikTok.
All the good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. Instagram. Give us a follow.
You can also take the big toe from your worst enemy and mail it into the show, and we'll put them in a jar. We're going to start collecting those.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
All right.
We're just basically doing anything that we can to, to gain a little traction, to maybe open up a little dialogue, you know what I mean, with listeners and stuff like that.
Yeah, and what better way than?
What better way to send us a toe of your enemy? That would be very cool. Big toe, preferably, but if you can only get a
Blair
pinky.
Witch style.
Well, if you could do teeth, then we can send maracas. Oh, we can.
Nice.
We will
we'll make
also
you some
teeth.
Maracas if you send us 13 teeth.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right? Or even just like an album recommendation. Maybe we'll do like a listener's album or something.
Yeah.
Like that one of these days.
If you want to suggest something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open up. It's not just us talking.
Yeah.
It's also you.
Yeah. But in the meantime, give us a share.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah. And subscribe to us on YouTube.
Yeah. Jackie, what's the news?
So a man has been blowing loads out of his butthole.
Oh, yeah.
And shitting out of his pee hole. And pissing out of his butthole too. Everything is reversed.
Now,
basically.
Jackie, when I saw the first couple words in this headline, it was like, man ejaculates out of his butt. Mm-hmm. No big deal.
Sure.
Right? I mean, a little anal ejac.
Sure.
You've never been ejacked anally?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a fantastic movie that came out when I was a kid that I think opened a lot of butts open to butt play.
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So Sean William Scott, Stifler, if you will, for the layman.
Yes.
Was in a scene in a movie called Road Trip.
Yes.
Now, in this movie, they've run out of a little money. They need to, get from point A to point B to the University of Austin in Massachusetts. Yes. Classic. Anyway, so it goes into a sperm bank, right? So he needs a little assistance, right? And the nurse is like, boom, you're not going to get me there quick. He's just trying to get a hand job. Doesn't, turns over, he gets milked.
Yes. I remember this. Yeah.
By the end of the film, did I say 2 fingers? Better make it 3. Now, Jackie, have you ever ejaculated out of your penis with a finger in your butt?
No, I haven't.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
You've never lived.
Yeah,
Kids, try something new.
Sorry.
Oh shit! I was just in Thanksgiving and my family was telling they're listening about it. They're like, "Yeah, we get like into the episode and like right at the beginning, I'll usually know if it's for me or not." So I apologize to my auntie Arlene. Yeah, my cousin Jackson is just he's a listener. Shout out to young Jackie boy. And,
nice.
Hey, you're in college, try something new.
Yeah, try sticking a finger up your butt. Yours or someone else's. If it's someone else's, don't stick it up. Get them, ask if they want to, then you don't stick their finger up your butthole unless they are a willing participant.
I'd back that.
Yeah.
I totally agree. 100%.
Yeah.
So anyway, when it comes to a little anal ejac, we'll call it for the remainder of the episode here.
Sure.
Not that surprising, but when you have to like squeeze poop out of your penis like a toothpaste.
Yeah.
Well, now we're talking. So how did this happen?
Yeah. So I think basically the story, from what I understand, this man was he had an extended, so 2 years prior to this happening, or to him going to see the doctor about this, he had an extended stay at a hospital after he overdosed on, I believe it was cocaine and PCP, and was placed into a medically induced coma. And basically he had a catheter inserted incorrectly, and it created a hole, which then which created a new passageway. So lines got crossed. And so then, things started going out opposite directions than what they were meant to. But this was ongoing for 2 years before he decided to go to a doctor.
That's fucking insane. Jackie, as a plumber, in the sense of lines being mixed up, you know what I mean? We do a lot of things to protect, the drinking water, the safety of the public.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Backflow prevention, all that stuff. Cross-contamination is very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
Now, that's just in a drinking water situation.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine, like, how did his dick not become septic? Like,
right? Like, how do you not get a UTI or several? Like, that's
over the course of
2 years. 2
years.
It says that. Well, okay. First of all, the first paragraph of this article really made me chuckle. It said, a man spent 2 years nutting out of his butthole before
like I said, been there.
Before seeking help in a case that perplexed and impressed researchers.
Sure. Okay.
And they did a study about it, and they titled this study "A Curious Case of Rectal Ejaculation."
I was going anal ejac, but rectal ejaculation is okay too.
I just like
half
that
marks on the test.
I like the creativity in the title. I feel like this should be a feature-length film.
You really have to. I think journalists are just getting young. You know what I mean? Or if they were going like clickbait and stuff like that. Like, there's no way that some 50-year-old journalist is going to say.
I don't think it wasn't. It was a scientific study.
Scientific paper. Use the term nutting.
Yeah. No. They.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
No, this is the article used the term nutting.
Okay.
But the scientific study was titled "A Curious Case of Rectal Ejaculation." And so this man sought treatment after
Benjamin Button.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Of Benjamin's butt on.
Oh, the butt is on. But okay, so is he taking he has to be. It has to just be like a little bit, right? Like
it must be. Well, so it says.
Like, is it like brown water?
So what it said was that he sought treatment after 5 days of pain in his balls and 2 years of, quote, a substantial amount of semen shooting out of his rectum. But that 2 years of that, he was like, whatever. But 5 days of pain in his balls, he's like, I got to get this.
Well, I wonder if...
And while I'm in here, I might as well mention that I've been blowing loads out of my butthole.
Have you ever been in a situation where, you know what I mean, like a guy's just getting tired, he's going to fake it? You know what I mean, right? Some of these things happen, right? Girls aren't the only ones faking out there, you know what I mean? Keep an eye out, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
But that'd be awesome if everybody thought that he was always faking.
Exactly. And then
he's like, no, let me prove it. And he just like scoops out a handful and slaps it down.
They look behind and it's just like Jackson Pollock on the wall.
I'm good. the front row has like a fucking tarp, like a splash show, like a Gallagher show or something.
Ponchos, like a Blue Man Group.
Oh, okay. Nice. I think that's absolutely hilarious, but do we have any like indication of how much was coming out, or if it did shoot velocity? Like, is he actually blasting cum shots back there, or is it more just like a slow drip?
That's a good question. I don't know. All I know is that he described it as a substantial amount.
So you can only assume.
Yeah.
You can only assume. Some guys are shooters. You know? Some guys really pop off.
And so, yeah, I just love whoever wrote this article. They really did a stand-up job.
Oh, yeah.
They also said, in describing what caused this, so there was a hole that connects the rectum to the lower urinary tract.
Sure.
And so it created a new passageway for his splooge to travel. Nice. And the way they worded this was, so instead of flowing out of his dick, as you might expect, it took a hard left out of his anus.
I love it as if like they're like semen has like a mind of its own.
Yeah.
Right? Like water's gonna go like the easiest way or whatever. I'm sure semen has the similar.
Yeah, it probably wasn't so
rule.
much of a hard left there.
Yeah, so there's probably like the hole probably like starts like right where like it was probably. I don't know exactly, but like a hard left. I mean, these little swimmers aren't very smart. They go wherever you shoot them.
Yeah. But I mean, it raises an interesting question, because I think it's pretty common for people, if something's up, especially, I'm not sure exactly where this took place. I'm assuming the States, especially in the States. If you notice, like, if you're suspicious that you might be sick or something might be wrong, most people don't go to the doctor right away.
I've been ignoring warning signs for years, but I mean nothing this drastic
like this, but it makes you wonder. So this guy drew the line. So he had 2 years of crossing streams of but it was just, and he just let it go. He was like, this is not big enough inconvenience for me to deal with right now. But then his balls started hurting, and 5 days later he went to the doctor. Or 5 days later he was at the doctor.
Yeah,
so he might have made an appointment right away.
As long as there's not pain, right? Like, imagine, I mean, even 2 years later, this might have even like led to like even better orgasms or something like that, right? So there might be a reason for him not seeking that kind of stuff. The pee in the urine might have been found like after the fact, or because it's not like, that's not like a party trick. You're like, oh yeah, doc, by the way, check this out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Right. So that.
But the shit coming out of your dick, that seems like
yes, but like
cause
but that's what I mean, right? Is it like a toothpaste situation, or is it just like little specks of fecal matter in what else is largely piss, or is it like brown? Yeah, I don't. Oh man, that's the part that's really kind of creeping up on me, because they like, I can almost forgive the other thing, because I mean, after the kind of guy that goes into a coma for like cocaine and PCP.
Yeah. He's lived a rough life already. He's like, this is nothing.
Right? A little bit of anal ejac. I mean, no big deal.
Whatever.
Right? Like, you could walk that off. But anybody with sore balls for 5 days has got to go do something about it.
Yeah. Right? That's where you want to.
Maybe is that where the infection started? Or like, was there any like medical complications that came from any of this? Or were they just like, oops, our bad from the catheter?
Well,
because like it couldn't be anything. Because also, Jackie, when you're on cocaine and PCP, I imagine you're going to probably shove something up your butt too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, it just happens. Yeah. That's just science.
Yeah. But I'm not sure what his medical history, if he continued to use cocaine and PCP after this extended hospital stay.
Well, did you see recently there was a fellow on drugs that went into an emergency room to get them to remove a dildo that he'd put up his body? I didn't send you this?
No.
Oh, Jackie, I got to send you this thing. That's like 28 inches long, and the X-ray is fascinating. So once it's like in there and you can't like get it out, right? This thing went like all the way up the side here.
28 inches.
It's
That's
insane.
So long.
Yeah. So essentially what happened there was, like, I mean, it was removed and no real like lasting damage. So I mean, you add PCP to the mix, like I'm saying, like, I mean, like, you could take some very serious damage back there.
Right.
I've heard.
Right.
But
no lasting damage from that. That seems
fascinating.
Yeah. How big was this guy?
I'm assuming probably like regular man status, like maybe not like, not abnormally small, but still, you know what I mean? Like the body's resilient, you know what I mean? And the rectum especially, right? Like, I mean, that
it can take a bit of wear and tear.
A little, absolutely. But so if it's due to complications from a catheter, is he entitled to like any settlement money?
That's a great question. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't detail any of the ripple effects.
Because once somebody's in there, start crossing wires, right? And it wasn't you, right? And I mean, like, hey, he might just be like a regular run of the mill cocaine and PCP user, right? Just chilling, what I mean? A little after dinner, Yeah, exactly. Mellows out grandma.
Weekends.
I get it.
Yeah.
Sure, right? So I don't want to I don't want to cast aspersions and say that, that might be anything leading to it, right? But if it was just the doctor's fault, then I'd be going after some bucks.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? You should get your money.
You got to get your money. Got to get your money.
And shame on the doctors. Well, like it seems such a simple. I mean, presumably, like doctors and nurses are inserting catheters left, right, and center.
My cousin Danielle is a nurse, and we just spent the weekend together, and she told me some fascinating catheter stories, more so about the kind of penises that she's seen in her line of work or whatever.
Yeah.
One being massive and taking the entire catheter, basically like just in the shaft or whatever.
Wow.
Very impressive story. Good for him. You know what I mean? Right?
Good
like
on
you just want to get a handful of that thing just to see what the weight is like. Right? You know what I mean?
Good
for you. But so from that side of the scale all the way to the like a penis where she actually had to like dig into like a guy's like abdomen to find it or whatever, right? Like even like beyond micro penis or whatever, like a button on a fur coat.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty incredible, right? And everything in between.
Yeah.
Funny story about a kid her age that was like probably wanted to fluff up a little bit, and just like, hot nurses are just like putting catheters in a guy's dick. Like that's not fun.
Yeah.
Shout out to that poor kid. You're our listener of the week.
Sure. And shout out to the nurses. This is not to disparage nurses. I wonder how common this is.
I need to we have a direct line now to two nurses, my cousin Jelena and Danielle, that I think could get to the bottom of a lot of these things, or at least for further context, we can maybe even ask a little bit about it. Shit, should we get them on the show? Nah, we'll call them later.
Yeah. Maybe phone a friend on the show.
We could definitely use it, but I believe they're still at the cabin that I left them, so it might be out of service.
Yeah. Later episode. We'll circle back to this.
But we're staying on top of all of it. Any more news
an elaborate
breaks
network
on any story that we've done so far, we promise to go back, because not only you, we want more information as well.
If you hear anything about any of these stories, please let us know.
Oh my goodness, yes, absolutely.
I think this was like a cautionary tale, of the even simple medical procedures can go awry. You have to take the utmost caution when inserting catheters, doing stitches, little things like that. Sure. Things can go wrong, and go to a doctor if you're coming out your
100%.
butthole.
Yeah, and I think it's up to all of us now to realize that you can't always blame cocaine and PCP for problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the doctor's fault.
Exactly.
Right?
Cocaine and PCP didn't do this.
Cocaine and PCP had nothing to do with this story, Jackie. I mean, the fact that they put that in there, I think actually throws a little shade on our fella here, because, I mean, maybe he's entitled to something. I mean, it was even ill-advised of me to assume that just because a man is doing cocaine and PCP to the point where he's going to overdose himself, that he's going to have something in his butt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's something that I would do.
Yeah,
right? I don't want to put that in his.
Exactly. We don't know this man.
We don't judge.
But this is not the fault of cocaine or PCP or this man.
No.
It's an improper catheter insertion.
God damn.
I've been trying to think of a play on words for PCP.
Yeah, just try it. Just try it live. Try it live. Let's see. Yeah.
Well, there's piss cum poop, which is what we're dealing with here. But I was trying to think of like a catchy slogan.
Peek and poop. Like an nincompoop, but a peek.
Yeah, peek-um-poop.
Peek-um-poop is actually
Watch
kind
your
of adorable.
PCP.
Yeah, mind your PCP.
Mind your PCP.
Jesus Christ. Oh, that's fantastic. Where did this happen?
I'm not sure. That's what I was wondering too. I assume probably the States.
Sure.
That's just my guess. I also
maybe England. I don't know.
Perhaps, yeah. Could have been Canada.
Where's
could
PCP?
have been
like as a drug user, you never see PCP. You know
yeah, you have to kind of search for that. Yeah. You have to be within the network.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sure.
I also came across this story about, speaking of like rectal injuries.
Oh, Jackie, I love a good rectal injury.
She like wore like really short shorts on a date that gave her a major wedgie, and then she had to be hospitalized because of it. So I guess what happened was that she was wearing like boy short cut underwear underneath these shorts, and it was riding up like her ass so hard, and she said that she remembers like picking her wedgie throughout this date, and I guess one of the times it was up there like so hard that it created like a little cut that then got infected, and then she had to go to the emergency room in ICU. No, this was like a day afterwards, something like that. She had to go to the emergency room in ICU, almost had to get part of her butt removed.
Whoa.
Yeah. She was saved. But
ladies, let that be a lesson to you.
Yeah.
We love a tight short. You know what I mean? I love a good form fit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Suck it up there. Fantastic, right? Yeah. But if it's going to be at the detriment to the rest of your butt, maybe don't do it.
Not worth it.
Maybe don't do it. You know what I mean? I like a flowy, dress situation and stuff like that, right? Maybe let it breathe. Maybe let the butthole breathe.
Let the butthole breathe.
Oh,
let the pussy breathe.
I think
you got to get some airflow in there.
I think that might be the slogan to the show. I think from now on, right? Let it breathe.
Let it breathe.
We should remix the Beatles song.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When
Let
times the wedgies are coming up.
Yeah.
My butthole speaks to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it breathe.
Yeah, maybe. There you go. It writes itself.
It really does. We should do more spoof songs. We should do any spoof songs.
Yeah. We
really
should get
like
into spoof songs.
Yeah.
I would like to do that. Yeah.
Right.
We'll put that on the list.
Spot in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Do we even do comedy anymore?
But
no throwing any shade.
Mind your PCP and let it breathe. I think that's the takeaway from this whole interlude. But on that note,
yeah, we can transition from there.
We can transition into Cheap Trick live at Budokan.
So Budokan, is that like a Buddha convention?
It's like a concert venue.
Very cool.
Yeah, in Tokyo.
I'm into it.
Yeah. So but why don't you say how did you feel about this album before
Jackie,
we get into
honestly, like on the train when I listened to it a few days ago, I was having cocktails. I was really fired up, and I'm not going to lie to you. I thought it was a little bit lackluster for me for what I'm kind of digging and stuff like that. But today, as I was kind of cleaning up and I kind of had it in the background, I could definitely see the appeal to this kind of stuff. There was some funny things that happened, but now that I realize that, it was a Japanese crowd that they're playing to, not a lot of talking to the crowd.
Right.
10 songs, 40 minutes. Love that. They extended some bridges, you know what I mean? And just kind of, really, really jammed out a few, a few of these for a little while, which was totally fine.
Yeah.
But, the intro and the outro kind of bookending it with like, are you ready to rock? Hello, welcome to the show. And then like at the end it was like, we had a great show, we'll see you later.
Sure,
Like that. There were some parts that I didn't dislike, that just definitely made me giggle. And then the two hits at the end were what I really remembered. Oh my God, I can't even remember where they are now. Jesus Christ. I'm just talking off the top of my head. All I'm thinking is Anal Ejac. Got me up here thinking Anal Ejac.
Got your mind on Anal Ejac.
No, because it's like, it's not, Like it's I Want You to Want Me. I was thinking
right.
Needing Somebody to Love or whatever. Right? But that's the Buzzcocks.
Yeah.
I know that's Ever Fallen in Love. Jesus Christ, how many songs about love are there, Jackie?
There's a few.
God, there's a couple of them. So that one, and then like the next song has a different name, so I can never associate it with the actual song. But yeah, Mommy's All Right, Daddy's All Right.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? So like it wasn't like for those two songs, those are like rockin' hits that everybody remembers. You know what I mean? Which is totally fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot going on like up to that point that I'd never heard before. So it was fine. It was good. It was good. I'm not gonna say that I didn't like there wasn't like it's not Kiss Alive too.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like a bigger sound or whatever, kind of from the same generation. Sure. Like that. But I could definitely see how it's better than Kiss Alive too. Yeah.
So basically, this album, Cheap Trick formed in 1973.
Okay.
This album comes out 1978. Up until this
short
point,
time to be that huge.
Well, they weren't. They
cool.
were huge. So up until this point, they were not. They had very little success in North America, but they were huge in Japan. So they didn't really have a lot of success. At home, but a huge following in Japan, as you can hear. On the album.
Oh yeah.
And so this basically, and so they recorded this album, and it was only meant to be released in Japan, but they had another they had promotional material for it that was playing in the US, and then the demand for this album in the US was so strong that they imported copies from Japan.
Was that from like a new hit coming out, or like a grassroots kind of movement, or like the underground saying like this is like you got to check this album out? Like how was
they made a promotional album for it. Yeah.
So there's a promo like a 45 or something for.
I'm not really. No, it's not like an album of theirs, but they had like promotional like material for it, I guess, like on the radio and stuff in the States, and people just really wanted to hear this album. So they imported a bunch of copies, and basically after this album is what caused them to have mainstream success in the States.
Really?
Up until this point, they weren't really big at all. But they opened for a lot of. It's okay. I was gonna say chilly feet.
Yeah. Anyway.
What was I gonna say? What was I talking about?
Promotional material.
Yeah. So they toured with. They opened for a lot of really big bands like Kiss, and like the Kinks and Queen, and a few other bands. Like they opened for a lot of really big bands, but they just couldn't. AC/DC. They couldn't find.
They just didn't open for any American bands.
Yeah.
Sorry, other than the first one. Other than Kiss. Yeah.
But
only play with Kiss.
Yeah, Thin Lizzy.
Hey. She's not so thin anymore, is she?
So they opened. Yeah. So they opened for a bunch of these bands, and basically, the song that opens this album, "Hello There," they wrote this song because when they were touring and opening for big bands, they often did not get sound check. So instead of just like burning one of their more like melodic songs or whatever to kind of like play around with the sound for their first song on stage, they wrote this song for basically to open up shows and to be able to do their sound check, because it just like comes out, you know, really, really strong and like high energy. And so that was the purpose of it. Was written specifically to open shows so they could play around with the sound, because they weren't getting sound checks. Do you think
that Cheap Trick inspired You Big Idiot? Because that's what they do.
Oh,
You Big Idiot is a local punk rock band. We love You Big Idiot. Their first song is Sound Check.
Yeah.
Hard guitar. Easy guitar. And the drum start. This is Sound Check. Oh. If they know it or not, but I'm going to bring that up.
Yeah.
In the next show. That's very cool.
That's
very
interesting.
Cool. Hey, yeah.
So that was like the purpose of that song. But yeah, so basically just like a little bit of background on the band. So like I said, they formed in 1973. They had released 3 albums before this album came out. But yeah, weren't finding a lot of success in North America, but they were huge in Japan. So they recorded this album there, intended to only be released in Japan.
Okay.
Then there was huge demand for it in the States, and that is what caused them to. This was like what jump started their career in North America, even though they were 5 years into their band, their career as a band already.
Yeah.
And opening for huge bands, but
I was gonna say like at 5 years. I mean, like that's.
Yeah.
You're doing okay.
But this was the album that brought them a lot of success. And so the audio recording for this album actually is not from the Budokan concert. They had another concert in Japan at the same time. So
you're telling me Live at Budokan isn't Live at Budokan?
So they had another concert at the same time in Japan at Osaka.
Live in Osaka.
But so basically the recording for this show fucked up. So they had to use audio from that concert instead. So they just say
Budokan because it's a cool ass name?
I'm not really sure why.
Osaka?
I'm sure
like,
there's some. I'm sure there's parts that. Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, the audio recording is from a different concert.
The more you know.
Yeah, yeah. But so Cheap Trick, a lot of like 90s grunge bands cite them as an influence, like Nirvana and like Smashing Pumpkins and stuff cite Cheap Trick as an influence, which is kind of interesting. Well, they kind of paved, because at the time it was like hair metal, 80s, like, this wasn't 80s, late 70s to 80s, like disco and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this was kind of like a resurgence of like real like rock and roll.
Yep.
And so it was like welcomed, especially when this album came out, as like, oh, like, this kind of music does still exist or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it kind of paved the way for this resurgence of more like hard rock rather than,
Ooh Baby and the Bee Gees fucking staying alive.
Yeah.
Okay. I could
and so it's the album was like described as basically like pre-internet like viral phenomena, because the album was so big when it came out, and it went just from Japan, the way that it like kind of jumped countries when it in like 1978. So it was like they went viral before going viral was a thing.
Well, yeah, I think that's the thing. Like that had to have been like a word of mouth, more of like a grassroots than like Capitol Records like putting the money behind it to push the album and really promote it or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So if it's gonna stand kind of on its own two legs and then find its audience a little bit later, kind of shows what was the mark of a good record. I think.
Yeah. And like it ushered in like a new era of rock music.
Very cool.
It's often cited as one of like the best live rock albums of all time.
Well,
and it's their best-selling record.
Okay.
But yeah, so that
it's not no effects. I heard they suck live, but whatever.
So the track that opens it, Hello There. Like I said, it was written to be a soundcheck song, basically. So do you, like, if you're like opening up to like open up your set, do you have like kind of like do you have like a go-to thing to like open
the answer
up?
to that question.
Well, yeah,
absolutely.
But this is not for me.
Yeah,
this is for the viewers.
I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the room, right? So like it always, but like if I have kind of like a general idea of what I'm going to do, if I'm going to try something that's going to take a little bit more time, then I will, like, I'll try to hit like hard and fast.
Mm-hmm.
Either to like, if I'm going up early to kind of like quiet the room down or whatever, or if it is a hot crowd, then to like give them the, like almost like the trust in me that like I know what I'm doing. So like I like to go up and kind of like quick, fast kind of one-liners and stuff like that or whatever that'll kind of follow. I'll try to make them, kind of one build onto the next one or something like that or whatever, just however I want to play around with them, but definitely do that. Not in the sense of like sound check, but absolutely to either, I don't know, to do like one of a few things like with an audience, right? Definitely to like set yourself apart, like know that, and almost kind of like gear them up for what they're getting into. Yeah. Because if everybody else has been like a little bit more tame or whatever, then you know what I mean. If we're gonna go up talk like about a little bit more like raunchy stuff. If they're not into, you know what I mean, abortions and fetal alcohol syndrome, then.
All right, we're back.
Little technical difficulties here for anybody that wants to know. Jackie does everything around here except the audio. I do the audio, and I had one fucking job.
Well, every time there's a new mistake, we don't make that one again.
We don't. This is a new mistake.
Yeah.
And it totally could happen again. It absolutely. The likelihood that this happens again, 100% could. But we're gonna strike forward.
Precautions.
Let's
okay.
Power through.
So we were talking about opening up the shows. So as we were talking about, just like acknowledge the audience really is what.
I think so. Well, it's the same technique that they did with the song, I think, right? Like, let's get everybody involved here, right? I don't know if that's been brought up yet. I don't know if we should even move on to a different line of questioning. You know? It's probably why we even brought it up in the first place. Yeah. Right? It's an interesting tactic, and I do something similar.
But yeah. but yeah, again, they open it up by acknowledging the audience, and I think that's for like any performer, that's kind of like the best way to bring people into it, make it so they know it's like a joint experience.
Totally. I've seen some performances, music, comedy, you name it, that is more or less just like you're another, just another show on the tour list or whatever, right? With not a whole lot going on. Or you can, do something like I don't know, Anti-Flag is a great example. Every time they come on, like they make it like a, to the point where they end the show with they'll pull the drums down into the crowd, and everybody gets like right up close and personal and stuff like that. And I think it's definitely a tactic. My buddy Nico is like, oh fuck, they're gonna do the thing again. You know why they're gonna do the thing again, Nico? Because we fucking love it. Yeah.
yeah, and it brings people into it. And I feel like, I don't know, it's hard with crowd work because it can, I mean, if it's done well, then it can be great, but it's hard. The thing where I think when I don't enjoy it is when it's tripping up the flow of the set. And so I feel like when I sort of play around with crowd work a bit, it's always at the beginning of the set, because I feel like that's kind of the place, not even having to do crowd work, but just be a little looser, like acknowledge something that happened earlier in the show.
Yeah, the way that you
it's
do it
just like
is
immediately,
exactly,
getting people comfortable with you, and they're like, okay, like they're an actual person here, and when I'm being I'm seen.
Totally. And I do something like a little bit different, but I think the general vibe is still the same at the end of the you know what I mean, at the end of whatever little opener that you're doing. I think at the end of it, everybody can like relax in. This isn't going to be too, like, it's going to be jarring. You're going to hear some shit, but it's my buddy up there. You know what I mean? Right? So we'll let him go, I think.
And it's hard because I still do some, it totally depends on the show, the vibe and stuff. But I think what I used to always do, it's like, oh, I should just open up with saying something wild and just to jar them and, really get their attention. But like, that's not usually what audiences want. No. I mean, sometimes, not to say you shouldn't say things to like get their attention right up top, but it doesn't have to be the most like ridiculous thing you could possibly say.
No, I say I would think like a good joke, like put one of your better ones up there, whatever you want to close with, put that one like up front or whatever. You know what I mean, right? I think because like then the trust comes, like, not, I don't know, trust is a weird word or whatever, but like they're gonna let you go on a journey if you've already made them laugh like off the top or whatever, right? Then because breaking into longer stuff can be like a little bit long-winded, especially when like if you're starting with, like for me, for instance, if you're going up there with one-liners and you're like your laugh per minute or whatever, right? You're getting like these like 30-second pauses in between laughs, which is great, but then it can be jarring for me anyway once you break into something longer. But like that silence is there because they're actually listening. You know what I mean, right?
It's
you're going to turn that corner at some point, right? And that's because I think you've earned their trust a little bit with the with the jokes there at the beginning.
With stories,
that's
it's
the
like
philosophy anyway. I might be completely wrong.
It's interesting with stories because definitely don't like open up with like a long story. I mean, I'm sure people have done it and it works, but but yeah, you can go for like, 30, 45 seconds, a minute without like a laugh. But then once you do get to the laugh, then it's like huge. Like, Darcy has one. I won't say what it is at all, but he has one story where it's like a minute of like heavy subject matter. Then he gets to the joke and it's so fucking funny and I laugh so hard every time. But you have to be really confident and really comfortable on stage to
start that way,
to go through like a minute of
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's why Darcy's the best.
Yeah, exactly. But so on a similar note too, so like we said, the song that closes the album, Goodbye, Good Night Now, this was written after the fact, after the first song was written, just kind of like as a counterpart to. It'd
be awesome if they wrote that one first. Like, hey man, maybe we should rather than doing an encore.
Good night now, ladies and gentlemen.
It was a pretty good show. We had a good time.
The end of the show. Now it's time to go.
Did they do? Is there like any bonus tracks or anything that exists? Like where
there's a whole like Budokan 2 album. There's a lot,
from the same performance. So they like really chunked this down to like this.
Well, I guess technically it's 3 concerts because it's the 2 concerts at Budokan plus the one at Osaka. That a lot of the audio is taken from. So they close up with this other song and it like bookends the album, and it's like in comedy you see that like a lot with people, or you used to see it a lot, where they'll close with a callback and it's kind of like a perfect like button up. And like it used to be, and it still is sometimes, but
I know that we used to do it a lot and we don't anymore.
Yeah, because it used to seem like so impressive. When like years ago, I feel like it's been kind of recent that it switched over, but when comedians were doing this, even like a couple years ago, it would be like, oh my God, like he remembered what he set up an hour ago.
There's a great Louis special where 3 of the words that you're not supposed to say ever, I mean, they're all great bits or whatever, right? And then he ends with a joke about a deer. And I'm not saying it here, but it's really well done. And that was, you know what I mean? Like that was like the form of brilliance. You know what I mean? When you're young, like 18 or something, you see that, you're like, oh fuck, like that's how you do it. Carlin did it. Chappelle did it great in a just for laughs 5-minute set. My buddy Dave has the camera and all that stuff, right? So there's a million of them that have like wowed me over the years. And it was fun to write a set like that, but it doesn't seem as spontaneous anymore.
No,
you know what I mean, right? Like do the callback about something that like somebody else said, or what happened in the crowd, or something. You know what I mean, right? Because then the audience can, like, they can get that whole like, fuck yeah, we were there for that. You know what I mean? Then everybody's like a part of the joke.
You're more like in the moment, and it feels more spontaneous and more like authentic. And again, it's like letting them know that like you're there watching the show with them, rather than it just being this like perfectly like constructed like circular act. And at the end, it's like, and I told him that's why I only carry nickels. Everyone's like, holy fuck! It's because he was talking about the times before.
It's a tactic. I mean, it's definitely a tactic. And I mean, given the opportunity to write a longer set, would I, incorporate something like that? Absolutely, maybe, right? But like, I think in the sense of like in shorter sets, a lot of comedians showcases and stuff like that, and it's just more of like it's like a writer technique or whatever for somebody to like flash out like how brilliant they are or whatever, which is cool. I don't know. It's so weird because everything's so like subjective here, like when done well, love it. When done poorly, worst fucking thing you've ever seen.
And I think it's like it's more and more it's becoming easier to do it poorly, because like you hear now, like when I hear people do it, like especially at shows that we're like at here in Vancouver, and I'll hear comedians do it and it's like, oh, it's like cringe, and it's like feels like hacky now almost.
It's just it's one of those things that I've had a one-liner a little while ago. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I got off and a friend of mine came up to me and he goes like, or a friend of ours, he says like, you know, they can spot the punchline before you get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right. So fucking change it, right? Rewrite it a little bit because the joke still works, right? But, you know, you're walking them into something that it's a little predictive, right?
Yeah.
So you can change that setup or whatever so that when you turn that corner, that punch hits way harder, right? It's a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
So because you see so much comedy, we're constantly around it and constantly thinking of, you know what I mean? Our own jokes are like how we can, you know, get from A to B and, you know, set up and really punch something, really turn a hard corner. When you see it done, it's predictive.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, right? Like if you're watching, like it doesn't make necessarily a bad movie is if you were like, oh, okay, they introduced that character at the first act, boom, they're coming back to save the day or something like that, right?
It's like the formula, like you know,
it's very simple, right?
So
like
happen.
when
it's almost like
so I don't know if like we're like fucking snobs about it now or something like that, but definitely like you can see it and then it encourages more of like an eye roll or
it's
like
almost
a light clap
it's like
rather
a groan,
than
rather
than like a belly laugh where somebody like when you close fucking strong and
exactly,
you know what I mean?
It'll be like a clap and like laugh of acknowledgement, like
clever boy,
I was listening,
yeah.
I understand. Where versus like a really like hard hitting joke to
right, and at the
close
same
everything off
right,
but like obviously you can do it well, but
it's always change with the environment too, because comedy just isn't music, right? I mean, for music, like you're setting the vibe up shit, and I bet that fucking worked for them for years.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's probably awesome, right? But you know, you just don't get you don't get that with jokes, right?
Yeah, and it's just like the more people do it, the more you expect it, and once comedy becomes predictable, like if you can see the punchline coming ahead, or if you know someone closes with a callback, once it becomes something that's not surprising anymore, then it's no longer
it's season
funny.
24 of The Simpsons and not season 4 of The Simpsons.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right? And there's without being a snob or whatever, there's a serious like decline in the comedy and the way that they're doing it. Actually, obviously the style of writing, the style of show changed and stuff, but where one storyline would take you on a fantastic journey, you know, that hadn't really been done before, especially in animated or, you know, cartoons and stuff at that time, to where they're at now, where you need 3 flimsy storylines to barely hold the plot together, right? You know, which is a lot of that stuff becomes predictive, right? Because you know you have like a C story where, you know, Bart in a slingshot is good, you know, like it's setting it up so fucking simply, right? Which is as an audience member, I'm not really here for you. You want to be surprised and stuff like that, because that's the thing, especially with comedy too. It's like if you see it so much and you see it so much, the greatest thing is getting the surprise, right? I imagine magicians like to see fucking well done magic, right? It's the same shit.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And that's and even when I see comedians, like local comedians who I like and I know are funny, but if they're doing a set and they're telling jokes and I can like fill in the blanks and I'm like, this is no longer, it's not funny anymore, because you know what's coming. Even like super funny people, super talented people,
absolutely.
But as soon as you lose that shock, and also just for people, people want to believe that you're like spontaneously making this shit up on the spot.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, now what people enjoy more about comedy. They want it to be like, they want it to feel like they're getting to know you, and like you know, like you're having like a spur of the moment interaction with each other. That's like never gonna happen again. Versus like if you have like a callback or whatever it is, then it feels more written and more rehearsed. And
it
more,
does, right. So if somebody's coming like incredibly like well written and rehearsed, it's like it could be like Jesselnick or something like that, like a level like that where you like that's what I'm here for, and that's the kind of stuff that you know I want to see, right? But it's more. It's weird, right? Like the better joke writers, even like amongst comedians when we talk about them, right? Like the better joke writers are almost going by the wayside for people, you know what I mean? A little bit more, you know, inclined to be more spontaneous and beam in the moment, right? Which is totally fair. You can't really predict what they want. You just try to do it the best that you can. And just wish you had fucking a band behind you.
Yeah.
That'd be sweet.
It's like similar to what like we were talking about the other day with like stage names for comedians, where it's like
I saw the stage name on a post. No,
we won't go into specifics, but it's like
fucking name,
for
man.
me, it's the same thing. Well, it's like I understand people whose maybe last names are too complicated,
sure.
and they're like, it's too hard for hosts to bring me up. It's
Absolutely.
Better if I just use this simple name or whatever.
Yep.
But when you have
or
a
full
full
like
on,
Horia, and you're like, I'm gonna be Alex. Like,
yeah.
I'll give you a pass on that.
If you use like a full on like stage like name,
like
just,
Larry the fucking cable guy.
Exactly.
Adjacent, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
then it's like, okay, this is now a character that I'm watching, and for me, that's not what I like in comedy.
No.
I want it to be a real person up on stage, and as soon as they're introduced as Larry the cable guy, then I'm like, okay, we're seeing an act now.
Well, that's really funny to me because like when when somebody's doing that act and putting that persona on, and they're going to say the most outlandish shit that they can, which is great. But I'm like, I have more fucked up stories than this, and I'm using my real name here.
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
the case is, you just gotta, teach their own, but not for John.
Yeah. I can say this because it isn't me. This is my character.
Exactly. It's like, dude, just try saying it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was with my family this weekend.
Yeah.
I was saying some wild shit, and most of it went over pretty well, actually. I did the pregnancy jokes to my mom, and she's like, "What the fuck?" Yeah. My family wanted me to do a set, so I'm in the fucking woods, Jackie.
God, yeah.
And I had a great time in the woods. My cousin married a man, and Adam is the best. I fucking love this guy. He's been around for like 10 years and shit like that. I just had no idea the extent of like his family's, like wealth and stuff like that. So it's very cool. So we get up to this cabin, this property with a bunch of cabins on him. My whole family's there. Adam's just hooking everything up. He's just a fucking beauty. And then he goes, "Do you want to blow some shit up?" Yeah, we got guns. We're blowing stuff. You know what I mean? It's fantastic. So at that point, we're having a lot of fun, a lot of cocktails. My brother packed for the trip like Hunter S. fucking Thompson or something like that. Like, chill weekend with the family boys. How you gonna handle it? Whacked on mushrooms. Anyway, there was a point where we were all drinking around the campfire, and my family's like, "Hey, baby John, maybe do your act for us." And I'm like, "Absolutely not."
Oh my God.
Like, are you fucking kidding me? And they pressed me for it for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, no. But then like, I think the next day we were drinking around the campfire, and I kind of gave them some snippets of it and stuff. And I'm like, there's no way like this, like this is not for you. Yeah. This is for a group of people, you know what I mean? Like strangers or whatever. And like, I mean, just like, I'm not here for like your applause right now. Yeah. Even though like as much as fun as it would be, I'm gonna have to do more explaining after the fact.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Draw a hard line in the sand when people ask me to tell a joke or do my act. I'm like, that is the most cringeworthy thing I could ever possibly think of doing right now. It's gonna make me uncomfortable. It's gonna make you uncomfortable because we're not at a comedy show. We're hanging out, and all of a sudden things are gonna get weird.
I was in the woods. I mean, give me a shotgun. How about
I absolutely refuse to do it when people ask me to.
I won't. I mean, well, no, I did it at Portside, like late night or whatever, but it was a good environment. You know what I mean? There's
but you're like on stage there was a stage, there's a microphone.
Exactly.
It's different than if you're just like hanging out. And it's different, if you're drinking, you're with like your family and stuff. But if you're like hanging out, with like your friends, and they're like, "Hey, why don't you tell a joke, or why don't you do your act?" It's like, absolutely not. No, that is not going to happen. Fucking pay for a ticket to see it, see a show.
Yeah, exactly. And then you'd be like a little bit more prepared and stuff like that. And I mean, spontaneity is great, but not like.
But then that's like the same thing because it's like. When you ask me to do a, how about you do like 5 minutes? Why don't you do your act for us? Then that's automatically ruining it because you're like, okay, and then I have to stand up and get into the zone, and it already feels like this weird performance.
Totally.
Like 100%. It's already not going to be funny
because
it's awkward because we just went from having a casual, normal conversation to me talking at you, telling jokes at you.
In a fully lit living room.
Yeah, with like
dinner
with like
time.
3 people watching.
No,
it's like, this is not going to go well. Trust me, this is like, we will have more fun and I will be funnier if we're just hanging out.
Yeah.
Versus me trying to tell you my jokes.
Yeah,
right
totally.
Now.
I've been crushing the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know They're just funny in conversation also. But
yeah.
Bring up the stuff that I'm working on?
Yeah, absolutely fucking not. With like no mic either.
Right?
Yeah.
No, not gonna happen.
Okay, so this so the guitar player Rick Nielsen, before he was in Cheap Trick, he had a bunch of other bands.
Okay.
One of them was called the Grim Reapers.
Ooh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. And it's Halloween time.
Ooh, Jackie, yes, finally. I know you guys have been thinking it. I said it last week. We're going spooky all month.
Yeah.
Lay it on me, Jax. Lay it on me.
So what do you think? First, let's start with the Grim Reaper, because I have thoughts on the Grim Reaper. First of all, I think for most of my life, when I thought of the Grim Reaper, it was associated either with Sims or with, I think it was a Family Guy episode.
Norm Macdonald was the first one to voice Death on Family Guy, and it's great.
There you go.
It's
fantastic. Yeah.
So
that stuck with me.
Death having Norm's voice is perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Sims, it was always terrifying because your sim
in the
would
Sims
die.
game, like he would come and reap
whenever
you?
Your sim
you'd come get reaped.
When your sim dies, the Grim Reaper comes. Yeah, you just watch it. Like you can't do anything.
You have no control over it.
You just watch it come in and collect the soul of your sim.
Does he like throw you over the shoulder? Does the spirit come with him?
No, you just like disappear.
Oh,
yeah.
That's lame. Okay. Cool. All right.
But I was thinking about the Grim Reaper today, and I feel like he's a misunderstood character because it's not like he's coming in to kill you. He's coming in to usher your soul into the afterworld.
A very poetic character. I think in a lot of different cultures and mythologies, there's everybody kind of has like a version of the Grim Reaper or whatever, right? So, in some sense, like he's supposed to give you a couple tokens so you could pay a guy on a boat or some shit to take you to the afterlife and stuff.
Right.
There's a bunch of weird shit like that.
Yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right. In the other iteration of the Grim Reaper that I always think about, when I was a kid, I was a really big fan of these two fellas called Bill and Ted, Jackie. Do you remember?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Love me some Bill and Ted. Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey, both fantastic. But I like Bogus Journey a lot because it's there's a little like science fiction. It's a little bit weirder, I think, than the first one, and the idea of playing game against death. Like there's a famous movie, you know what I mean, with that great shot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, with the two with the guy playing chess against death. You know, in the backdrop of the ocean or whatever. It's just like fascinating and incredibly poetic. Always got to be black and white and stuff. And then Bill and Ted take that and they give him a Melvin, which is like a front wedgie, which is hilarious. Wow. And then and then just basically beat death to do the thing. Oh, what was the name of their band, Jackie? Fuck.
I forget. It's
like
been a
Flaming
long time
Saddles,
since
Flaming Stallions or something like that. Something Stallions. Fuck. Shit, we'll get back to that.
I love that his how do you put this? Scythe, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard.
Tool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that it's like a crop harvesting tool, but that's his tool to harvest souls.
I mean, you know what I mean? A lot of these characters were made up at a different time, Jackie, right? Like, what would you prefer? You had Glock 9?
But I feel like he's a soul like he's not killing you. Like but that's why I like it, because this is a harvesting tool and he's somehow harvesting your soul with
which is silly because like I mean but he also never really uses the fucking thing because he's supposed to touch you, right?
Never
like once you get touched by death, that's it, right? I thought that's what I understood, right? I never knew death to ever need a weapon.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what he uses to harvest the souls.
He doesn't chop you at the feet, though. You know, death's never come in and been like,
but it's not because it's just soul based.
It's a soul sickle.
It's a soul sickle. I don't think it's a sickle. I think it's a.
I remember calling it a sickle and then being corrected later.
Yeah, you know.
From what I understand too, it's also like the one that we see is actually not like would be useless to harvest crops, right? Like so if you have like the pole going straight up and then your and then the blade kind of facing towards the ground as you're standing as you're sticking it up. Yeah. No good. That blade needs to be turned to the side so that you can swipe the grass or the wheat with it and it actually cuts you know what I mean, at a level plane on the ground.
Let's see.
Right? So
garden is this still used? Dude, I guess it's more automated now. You don't have
well,
people,
yeah, but there's I mean, depending on the farm and depending on the level of technology that the farmer can afford. I mean, I'm sure there's still a bunch of them in use across the the world, but like my Uncle Perry has a farm and he's not using that shit on like mass amounts of like acres and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, look at all these guys. Oh, I see. That fella.
Exactly. Yeah. Precisely. Right.
That seems like not the best way to do it.
This looks is this is great radio for anybody that's listening.
Yeah. Or anyone that's watching. The screen is away from them.
Yeah. So as you can see here, no good. And from this is actually like how you would how you would chop your grass with it.
Yeah. Yeah. But how would that work then for the collecting of souls?
It doesn't at all, Jackie. This is a fictional character. This is a fictional character, Jackie.
It's a mythological creature.
Well, whichever you like, we can't definitively say one way or another that there is no Grim Reaper, but I'm just saying that the modernization, the character that's been built and put into pop culture might not even be that guy. Like I was gonna tell you about a TV show that doesn't exist because I wrote it. That is the dumbest shit that I haven't thought about this story in a long time, Jackie, but in film school you read the thing too. Exactly. But there's more of like death is like an agency, you know what I mean? Right. So like new souls can kind of pass in there and and put some work in. You know what I mean, to maybe to gain a little bit of favor or whatever. But check out fuck, I can't even remember the name of it.
I guess I feel like I
my bad, guys. My bad. You ever seen that show? No, nobody did because I wrote it and nobody's buying it.
I feel like the Grim Reaper has sort of fallen out of favor, though. People aren't reaping. I
mean, he's not really necessarily like reaping the rewards of being like a fixture in pop culture for so many years. Even with Halloween coming up, I'm seeing very little Grim Reaper. Not seeing a lot of. You know what I mean? Like witches have always been in vogue.
If I saw someone just like casually walking around dressed as the Grim Reaper,
casually reaping,
that would be fucking terrifying.
I mean, everybody has their thing. Like when you see one robed man, you want to know like where the rest of the robed men are, because that's got to be like, so if he's part of like
some sort of
an organization, then you want to hide all your friends that aren't white. But if you see one guy in a robe with no congregation of other robed men, then you either have to assume on his way to do something dirty.
Oh yeah.
Or to do something deadly.
Yeah. 100%. Robes aren't a casual streetwear.
Nobody's wearing a robe to Denny's. You know what I mean? Not in that case. Not in that sense anyway, right? And but nobody is really using that like the clown. You know what I mean? Like the clown has been turned in from the personification of joy and happiness and fun. You know what I mean? But now is something far more sinister, right?
Oh yeah.
But the Grim Reaper, right? Nobody's out there, dressed in Reaper robes, which would be much easier.
Exactly.
Much easier to do than an entire clown makeup
disguises your
and stuff
face.
like that.
Just throw on a fucking robe.
Super easy.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. I think people that are out there just looking to scare people have been picking the wrong character for a long time now.
Yeah.
I mean, what if like why isn't anybody okay? So Ari Shaffir did like The Amazing Racist, where he wore like a clown outfit, and went through the hood and stuff like that.
Right.
It was a decade ago. Very funny stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely go and check it out. He has a cross on his. He brings a cross into a corner store and he's asking for lighters and shit like that. Yeah. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
But so you have The Amazing. Why isn't anybody doing like Grim Reaper at the funeral home, or Grim Reaper at like an old folks home or something like that?
Yeah.
Right? Ari, push the boundaries, man.
Come on.
You can't write a joke.
Some reap, yeah.
One joke, Bob. One punch. So I think that people are really dropping the ball on that as far as like the Grim Reaper is concerned, and I think he definitely has fallen out of favor as far as pop culture is concerned. Yeah. And we need to bring the Reaper back.
Yeah, there needs.
Don't fear the Reaper. Fucking Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah, there needs to be some sort of new horror movie that centers on the Reaper. But
maybe
that being said, exactly, he's not so much a terrifying character because he's not killing people. He's a shepherd. He's ushering them into death.
Like he's so
he's kind of a good guy. He's like, I don't want you to make this journey alone. I know the hood, the robe, the scythe, it's off-putting.
It's off-putting, fair enough.
But
right?
like, trust me,
I'm from a different time.
Yeah.
These were the garb back in the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what we need to do then is to like make the storyline kind of like revolve around like a 90s action movie. Let's go The Fugitive. Okay. So in The Fugitive.
Yeah.
Jackie, what we have here is Harrison Ford has to clear his name. It might actually be Wesley Snipes because there's a fugitive and then U.S. Marshals. Shit.
It's Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford and the Fugitive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do U.S. Marshals because it's a better movie.
Okay. I don't know that one.
It has Wesley Snipes and Tommy Lee Jones is chasing him.
Okay.
And like just for my money, just more fun, right? Anyway, the entire first act of the film is basically a setup where now Wesley Snipes has to clear his name for the rest of the movie. It's like every 90s action movie, basically, right?
Yeah.
So if you do that with the intensity and with the with the express concern that the Grim Reaper needs to not necessarily like, would he be changing his name, saving his name? What would the situation be? Because how do you get somebody from the afterlife to get people to not fear him, even though he is the harbinger of death?
Yeah, he's tired. He's tired of being marketed as an evil being who's a murderer and someone to be feared. And so he comes to someone who he's supposed to, because he has a deal with the devil. Presumably, or God, maybe both. I think he's probably
just getting souls over, right? He
I
has
think
no idea.
Yeah. I think he's like Switzerland. I think he's a neutral party here.
Yeah, exactly, because he's hiding Nazi gold.
But he's tired of it. He's tired of being misunderstood and have all this propaganda spread about him. And so one day he comes to someone who's on their deathbed. He comes to help them cross over to the other side. And he says, there's something about this person that's special.
Has to be a child.
Yeah.
Can't fear him.
And exactly,
you know what I mean?
Oh, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to give you another, let me tell you, because this could get me in a lot of trouble. Trust
like
me.
Mighty Joe
this
Young
is going to like anger
like
the boys upstairs and downstairs.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
But I am going to I'm going to let you, I'm going to guard your spirit and allow you to stay in this realm if you clear my name.
This kid ends up in a mental institution because he's just telling everybody that Death's not a bad guy. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Grim Reaper, good guy. And so then this kid grows up and his whole life is dedicated to clearing the name of the Grim Reaper, because if he doesn't, he will die randomly, because he's cheated death once before and Grim Reaper has his number. And he's like, I don't want to do this to you, but this is the deal that we brokered. And so this guy grows up, terrible upbringing. And
no, absolutely. Definitely.
He's searching, he's going crazy. People
so
obviously
be born in poverty, you know what I mean, rough upbringing, that's one thing, but I mean, then convincing the world that death is nothing to be afraid of is an uphill battle,
But perhaps he gets into some sort of horrific accident, and then he becomes like a motivational speaker, and he's like, hey, I gotta tell you guys something. The Grim Reaper. Oh my God, Kevin.
A guest so many of you do not know yet. But,
yeah, he's been on twice.
But he did ask me. He did message me about the show a little while ago, so he might. He might come on just yet.
Maybe third time's the charm.
We'll find out.
But this is
until then. That's kind of what he does.
Yeah. and so this kid, we'll call him Kevin for now.
I love this. I love where this is going. No, this is fantastic.
Kevin spends his life convincing people the Grim Reaper is nothing to be feared.
Almost the homie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Probably encouraging, traveling around, maybe even going to schools with like cool tattoos. Of,
yeah. But he must reach a breaking
on your knuckles
point.
And stuff like that. That, convinces his young children to listen to Slayer.
Yeah. He must reach a breaking point, though, where it's like, no one is listening to me. People still think this grim Mr. Reaper is a horrid character. They're frightened of him. You see his image everywhere on Hallows Eve and the days leading up to it.
Absolutely.
It's nothing I'm doing is working.
Yes.
And so then he reaches a crisis point, and the Grim Reaper visits him perhaps on a large hill, maybe in the middle of a thunderstorm. And
exterior hill, thunderstorm. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm following.
And he's like, Reaper. He goes up in the middle of a thunderstorm. Sure. He's inspired. He's going crazy.
It's the rain. He's like
ah. He's like ah.
Yeah,
and then the thunder hits, and he looks outside. He's like, I have to go. He goes outside and goes to the top of this hill, and he's like, Reaper.
Keep going.
And then the Reaper comes. You never know where the Reaper comes from. He just kind of appears, right?
Honestly, it's like diarrhea. You never really know, but like you have an idea. Like, I mean, obviously, you deserve it.
He turns around and the Reaper's behind him.
Totally.
And he's like, yes, Kevin.
You couldn't even do Norm for your Reaper? You just have to... The Reaper's been reaping souls with Down syndrome for millennia now? Hi, Kevin.
I didn't say it like that.
Sorry, I don't know.
He goes, yes, Kevin.
So he's just a creep. He's got a pencil-thin mustache and a French accent.
And then Kevin goes, Reaper, I know we made a deal all those years ago, but it's working. Nothing's working. And then Reaper goes, ha 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 ha.
Like that was the test. Like that was the test the whole time.
Yeah, he's like,
man will never accept death.
Man will never accept death.
Fuck, that's heavy.
And then he fucking kills him.
Wouldn't that be okay? Okay, hold on. Now, okay, so I love where your head's at. Everything yes. No notes, just a suggestion, right? If at the end of the movie, when Kev is reaped, something happens where, say, lightning strikes the scythe or something, like at the moment of contact. You know what I mean? Kind of like a Bart and the Fly situation from fucking Halloween episode.
Yeah.
So if that happens, then Kev becomes death, and most of the world isn't wheelchair accessible. Ooh. So a lot of us, to avoid death, just have to be on any elevated platform.
Right. Sure.
Just saying.
And
the rope gets caught in the tires all the time. Like this is like we do like the Naked Gun, but like death.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And then Kevin becomes the Reaper.
Yes.
And the Reaper becomes Kevin.
Well, then he doesn't have the wheelchair anymore.
Now
is there two wheelchairs?
Now there's two wheelchairs.
Jesus. This is going off the rails.
Or Kevin can walk again.
Well, no, but then everybody dies. So like we want it, like the only way to beat death is to become death. Kevin knows the only way to beat death is to become death. So that's his burden, his cross to bear. And like, I mean, he'll take a couple souls that are like at like, at the bottom of the monkey bars or whatever, you know what I mean? Whoever falls off the jungle gym, he'll get him. But if you're on the jungle gym, then you're going to be fine.
And the Reaper becomes a mortal soul. And so then the day comes where Kevin has to reap the Reaper. The Reaper gets reaped.
Yes. Kevin's out there reaping Reapers.
Yeah, don't reap the Reaper. And then this is like a 5-act movie.
Oh yeah, 3 hours, easy.
Yeah,
easy. Yeah. Fuck
but then
move over, Irishman.
There's multiple climaxes.
As with any good session, you know what I mean. There should be.
And I don't know what the moral of that story is. You have to beat
the moral
death,
of the story is become
death.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
right?
and the Reaper not a bad guy.
And yeah, exactly right. The bottom line is that every religion or every thing like this is all created in my head is because man can never accept that death is coming.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're so self-important and like our consciousness is like the coolest thing ever, but it's also the burden, you know what I mean? The fact that we're not going to be around to experience this forever because we think we're so important, right? So every culture and every like mythology, the only through line or the only connecting tissue is basically kind of like a coping mechanism for death.
Yeah.
Right? So like Kev like can become death, then start like handing out mushrooms and like MDMA because they're doing like all those kind of like tests or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people can like, you know, accept that that's going to happen or something like that. So I just think like, yeah, it's heavy, but you know what I mean? Man will never, sort of like will never accept death.
Yeah. It's like, people want to like have a physical manifestation of death where you can actually see what's happening because you
need a bad guy.
Yeah, because no one knows what happens in that exact moment, and
except
so they
invent
except us, of course.
You know what I mean? Talk, like, subscribe.
Yeah, but then the Reaper comes along as this like this symbol of death, so you can see it happening.
Yes.
You can see them getting escorted. There has to be some sort of confrontation. There has to be a round table, a dinner party between God, the devil, and the Reaper within this film.
Like, do you think they get like a corner booth at Denny's?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're like, Satan's just like, I love moons over my hammy, and they're like, we could eat anywhere in the known universe. And he's just like, man, if you ever fucking have moons over my hammy, dog, some extra hash browns, crispy, ooh, it's a good sandwich. And we're like, that's why you're Satan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like because he's just a dick and he always
There's
has
a
to
lot
pick
of
the
fun
restaurant.
to be had within this dinner.
We could definitely do it. Somebody get us a laptop.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Stay tuned.
Fair enough. I mean, we haven't cracked into a script in a little while. That may be fun. It may be fun.
Yeah. Write this feature length.
Like death comes ripping, death comes rolling.
Yeah. Yeah. This is for the record. Any similarity between any living beings is purely coincidental.
We didn't say anybody's last name.
Yeah.
We just used
this is a common name.
Yeah, Kev's a common name. How many motivational speakers in wheelchairs do you know named Kevin? There's a bunch of them.
No, it's tons.
At least 13.
Yeah.
No, I'm into it. So now you've inspired me. You've lit something under the tires. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And mommy's all right. And daddy's all right.
Did you know that? So obviously the end of that song, Surrender.
Surrender is the name of it.
Yeah. We're all right.
Yeah.
So they did a cover of Big Star's song In the Street, which is the Hanging Out.
That 70s show.
Yeah. So Cheap Trick covered that for the theme song for that 70s show, and then tacked on We're all right from that song. Yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. We are all right. I think at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's a
us and the Reaper.
Us and the Reaper. You know, we might be misunderstood, but I think at the end of the day, like we're gonna have the last laugh.
Yeah. We'll usher in
because we'll die laughing.
Exactly. As we shepherd everyone across. I'd like to be a shepherd.
You like to be a shepherd?
Yeah, not like what's a shepherd?
That opens the episode for sure. That has to open the episode. Jackie, a shepherd.
I mean shepherd. So shepherd, they have sheep, right?
Yeah, well, it could be like any congregation of animals. I get, you know what I mean.
In the sense of like shepherding
a pack of animals, sheep definitely. They're in the Middle East, goats very common and stuff like that, right? So, if you have a pack of animals and they like those animals have been like walking those trails for like, you know what I mean, thousands of years or whatever, right? So then basically the shepherd kind of, you know, oversees that.
Them. Isn't that what like lassies for? Like the
like an Australian shepherd dog might not be like a lassie. Would be like a golden retriever.
It's
for
lassie
a different
golden
thing.
Retriever.
I think.
I
don't know a whole lot about famous dogs. I know lassie was racist. That's it.
Obviously.
But other than that, like an Australian shepherd, the reason that they're so like wound up.
Yeah,
and
because they're running around the sheet.
Exactly, right? And like what one, you ever see videos like what one dog can do to like a whole?
I've seen it.
They open it.
I fucking grew up around farms. Yeah.
I have YouTube. I just watch ridiculous shit on YouTube. Jackie, you know what I've been watching on YouTube lately?
What?
There's a channel called Awesome Restorations.
Okay.
And somebody would just get like a rusty tool and just take it apart and rebuild it.
Oh.
And it's
Do they make it better?
Awesome. They make it brand new.
Okay.
That's it. They paint it. They get all the rust off of it and shit, and they just like turn it into something awesome. And
nice.
But then so I started with just tools and stuff. We've been getting into antiques. I watched them do a coffee grinder this morning. Fascinating stuff. That's cool. So that's what I'm basically getting into.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's useful.
I need to be shot. Or if somebody could book me on a show. Give me something to do.
All right. Well, I think that about sums up the album.
Put this album on at a party in the background.
Yeah. It's a fun little party album.
I had a good time with it.
Nice.
Had a good time with it. Anything else off the top?
No, that's all I can think of. We'll be on time next week.
We will be on time next week.
And we should figure that. Well, this is an off-screen discussion.
Could be on screen. Ty's open to record tomorrow if we want to do this.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna say we should figure out when we're gonna do that.
Absolutely.
You guys don't have to worry about it
because we're gonna be on time this time and every time after.
Always, more mistakes.
No more mistakes. No mistakes allowed.
Yeah. And apologies to. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Who killed Tim Kono?
Oh yeah.
That's what we want to know.
Yeah,
that's all we're out here for.
Exactly. And apologies to Am, who got a shout out. Got a lengthy shout out, but it's lost.
Yes. We spoke some very high praise of a friend, and then
it's gone now.
We circled back to every topic except that one. I love it.
I didn't bother.
We love you.
All right.